Hello everyone, Merry Christmas from Clay Formations. Why don't you come on inside and get warm, grab a cup of hot chocolate, and let's do some sculpting. As if the holidays weren't stressful enough, we're going to make it a little more stressful with this thing right here. I've decided to give myself only 24 hours to complete a sculpture. Okay, we're set to 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds, which equals out to 24 hours. Now all I have to do is hit that start button. Alright, here we go. Alright, now the clock is running. Do you think I can do it? Well, we're going to find out. Alright, let's set the table. First, we're going to need some Sculpey, a base, piece of wire, and a cone. Okay, the first thing we'll do is we'll take the base and we'll go sand it down to something that looks a little more presentable. There we go, that looks a little better. Now, what I have to do is take this wire and get it inside the cone. And I'm going to do that with some Ultralight. We'll put the Ultralight in the cone, and the wire inside of it, and then we'll move on to the next part. Now we'll fill it up with the Ultralight. It looks like I put way too much in there, so I'll have to tear a piece off. And then we'll flatten it on the base. Tear off the excess, make sure it lays flat. That should do it. Alright, now what we'll do is we'll bend the wire into a T shape. Make sure it'll fit. Then we'll put it inside the Ultralight. Smooth it out, and then we'll take it off to bake. While that's baking, I need to drill a hole for the gnome to go into, plus 4 more for the flange. There's the screws for the base. Oh, by the way, the cone's all baked, ready to go. We just need to let him cool off for a little bit. While that's cooling, we'll put the flange onto the base. After we get all the screws put into the base, what we'll do is we'll take it and we'll attach it to the sculpture turntable. Check our time. And now we'll get ready to put the gnome onto the base. Well, obviously that's too long, but it can't go below this base, so we'll cut it off about right there. Now we'll test it out. We'll need to cut off a little more. There we go. That should do it. Now we'll attach it with some glue, put it on the base, and now we are ready to add some clay. I hate to tell you this, my friends, but I have to report a murder. Yeah, I murdered another pasta machine. For some reason, I'm real hard on pasta machines. So I got a roller and 2 paint sticks and decided to roll out the Sculpey by hand. And it gave me the size of sheet that I needed anyway, so it all worked out in the end. So I'll cut off all the edges, make it a nice little square. And that turned out alright. Time check, 22 hours and 27 minutes to go. As I'm watching this now, I realized what I did wrong. I did not put any liquid Sculpey on the cone, and that's going to cause me a problem later on, but we'll get to that in a minute. Right now, let's just smooth this guy out and give us a nice base to put the details on. Well, through my skill and expertise, it looks like I have successfully sculpted a cone. I know, it's very impressive. Okay, enough of that stuff. More impressive stuff to come. Right now I need to cut a notch for his feet and then take him out to bake. Come on, we've only got 22 hours left. Alright, he's still a little warm, so while that's cooling down, let's make him some Converse. Yep, that's right. I'm going to make him some cute little black and white Converse. The first thing we have to do is make sure that they're symmetrical and the same size, so we'll cut them down until they're exactly the same, and then we can move on. Okay, we've got about 21 hours left, so let's move on. Let's go ahead and attach his feet to the cone. Then after we get those all shaped up and ready to go, we'll start adding the details. Before I do that, I'll fill in this hole that I made. Wasn't sure how much room I would need, so I just made it extra big. Now I have to fill it back in. Now what I'll do is take thin sheets of Sculpey and make the toe caps of the Converse. cut off all the excess stuff there. Then after I get all that cut off, what I'll do is I'll smooth it into the rest of the shoe. Now I'll add the sides of the shoe and blend it in. Oh boy, we've only got 21 hours left. What in the world are we going to do? I know what we're going to do. We're going to add more details to the shoe. We'll start by adding that side ridge and then smoothing it out with the paintbrush. Then we'll add the side stitching. Later on I'll paint those white. Now we'll add the little side grommets for the shoelaces to go through. Okay, well guys, I've been sculpting for a little while now, so I'm going to stop the clock and I'm going to bed. We'll see you tomorrow. Alright, it's a new day. Let's start the clock and let's get going, shall we? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the shoelaces to his shoes. And as I'm watching this, I'm realizing what I'm going to have to do in a little bit. It took a couple of hours to get this done, and well, I'll just let you watch what I've got to do in a little bit. Looks pretty good, but I forgot to add his little bow tie to the shoe. Can't walk around with your laces undone. So, after all this, it's all finished. And what I realize is that if I bake this, I've got to paint all that, and it's not going to work. So, what I'm going to have to do is get rid of it all, and after I paint it, use white clay for the shoe laces. Oh my gosh, I really don't want to have to do this. Oh well, sometimes that's just the way sculpture is. You work on something and then you find out that this is a problem and it's going to cause you a lot of trouble later on in the process. So you have a choice. You can either deal with it now and just bite the bullet and redo it, or you can deal with the problem later on. And there have been so many times that after I've done something and I realized, oh, I wish I would have done it a different way. And sometimes it's easier just to fix the problem right then and there than deal with the problem later on that will take you twice as long to fix further along in the process. So let's continue on. So I'm putting I'm putting his nose on there. Let's make sure that stays on this time. Okay, we're just about done with putting the tree foliage on his body. Alright, it's time for a clock check. 19 hours and 26 minutes. And since this guy is going to be out in the snow and he needs to stay warm, we're going to make him a little stocking cap. And while I'm doing that, I'm trying not to mess up what I've already sculpted. Need to add a little bit more to the top and kind of having it flop over a little bit. You know, it's not going to go straight like a normal gnome. Now we'll put a little rim around the hat. Cut it off and we'll blend the edges together. We'll add a few more branches sticking out from underneath his cap. Another clock check, 19 hours and 4 minutes. Let's give his cap a little bit of texture. Taking a piece of burlap and then just rubbing it over the clay, and after you're all done, you have texture. Now we'll add a little bit more detail around the edges of his cap. You know, in every sculpture, there are at least one or two parts that are really excruciatingly boring and almost to the point of arduous. So what you have to do is, in order to have a good sculpture, you need to hunker down and just take the time. And the thing is, it's really an opportunity to be almost therapeutic. Turn your music on and just let yourself get lost in the process. When you're all done, even though it's taken you a long time, you end up with a much better product because you have actually taken the time to do it right. This was one of those situations where I just had to let it go and just enjoy the process. So now we'll take a little piece of clay and we'll make him a wool mitten. We'll add his little thumb. Always make sure that you check the position of your thumb because you don't want the right thumb on the left hand and the left thumb on the right hand. I've done that before. Okay, so this one is going to be on the left, and now we'll make his right hand. His right hand is going to be carrying a little sign. So what we'll do is we'll check the position and then we'll wrap his little handle around the mitten. Now his left hand is going to be holding a big mug of hot chocolate, so we'll make him a little mug. I tried looking for a mug at Hobby Lobby, but I couldn't find one the right size, so I'll just have to make one for him. Okay, so we'll put the tang in to his right hand and we'll attach it to his body. There we go. Now we'll check and see if his handle's at the right angle using the burlap to make sure that I don't mess it up. Now that the shell part of the mug is cured, I can pull it off the rod and then I can add the bottom. After I add the bottom, I can smooth it out with the large ball stylus, but I found out that it was too curved, so I used the smaller one to push it in a little bit, made it more flat. Now we'll give him a handle. And now we'll take his mitten and the mug and put them together and add it to his body. I'll push it in a little better with the burlap so I don't get fingerprints on it. I think he looks pretty good. Now he's ready for the oven. Okay, let's do another clock check. Looks like we have 16 hours and 29 minutes left. I left the clock running because technically that is sculpting time as well. Unfortunately now we've got to make some repairs. As you can see, it cracked all through here, so I take some Epoxy Sculpt and put it into the cracks and let it cure. Now I need to make his little Merry Christmas sign, so I take 3 pieces of flat Sculpey and sandwich it between the handle. Now it, and then you end up with a poof ball. Now we'll add some snow to the top of his Merry Christmas sign because he's going to be standing out in the snow. That looks about right, but it needs a little bit of texture. So we'll take the texture ball and we'll roll it over the top. Then we should have a sign that looks like it's got a little bit of snow on top of it. Let's check and see how it looks. Not bad. Okay, let's take this out and then we'll cure the poof ball. Be very careful when you use a heat gun on a poof ball like this because the little bits on the outside will burn if you get too close. I'm going to add Epoxy Sculpt to his hot chocolate mug because it cures all by itself and I won't have to apply heat. 14 hours and 18 minutes left. Okay, let's hurry up and paint this guy. We'll start him off with a deep dark green, and then what I'll do is I'll dry brush as I go out. Also paint his little stocking cap. Paint his mittens. And then we'll dry brush the dark green with a lighter green, and boy, it just made those details pop. The thing you have to know about painting a sculpture is you start out painting a large part of it, and then as you finish it, you have to go slower and slower because the areas get tighter and tighter to paint. Then you also have the dry time as well. So on the whole, I would probably say that painting takes a little bit longer than the actual sculpture itself. Remember when I had to pull the shoelaces off of his shoes earlier? Well, now it's about to pay off. 11 hours and 48 minutes left. We can do this. Looks like Nick is excited. Okay, here we go. Let's paint the white part of the combers. This took several coats and several hours because white doesn't cover very well, especially when you got dark green underneath it. Now we'll do the white stitching and the black line on the edge of the sole. I'll use a silver Sharpie to do his little silver grommets. Now let's squeeze out some shoelaces. Now this is where it pays off for what I undid earlier in the video. I just took the white clay, made some strings, and then laced it up like a real shoe. There's absolutely no way that I could have painted this. It looks so much better this way, and I'm really glad that I just went ahead and undid the earlier sculpture and did the shoelaces this way. I will, however, have to use the heat gun to cure the shoestrings. You just keep it far enough away and you'll be okay. Okay, now let's paint his little sign. I kind of wanted it to look like gingerbread with frosting on top of it, even though it's supposed to be a wooden sign with snow on top of it. Kind of had a double meaning there. Now what's hot chocolate without a dollop of whipped cream on top of it? So let's make a little whipped cream dollop to put in his hot chocolate. I will say this makes me want hot chocolate right now. I could just stop the clock and go get some hot chocolate. Nah, we better keep going. Time's a-wasting. Let's paint the base. I'm going to do the top part, the dark green, and then I'm going to do the middle red and the bottom part gold. Now how Christmassy is that, huh? Only 5 hours left. We gotta get going. If I didn't have to wait for the paint to dry, I could probably get it done quicker. Let's personalize his hot chocolate mug. N stands for Nick the Christmas Gnome. A stamp for his Merry Christmas sign and peace on earth. Yes, that is truly my prayer. Let there be peace on earth for all people. All right, we did it with 2 hours and 36 minutes to spare. We stopped the clock, and that's a wrap. Okay, if you've made it this far, I can guarantee you're not going to get a lump of coal in your stocking. I want to thank you all for such a great year. Your support and enjoyment of this channel means the world to me. I want to wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And may all of your clothes fit exactly the same as they did before the holidays began. Love to you all, and we'll see you next year on Clay Formations.